Hey, blessings. Welcome to another law enforcement daily devotional. Today, we're back in First Chronicles chapter 7, all of 7. Then we read chapter 8, verses 1 to 27. Now, prior to this, we've been reading about the descendants and the genealogies of Reuben, Simeon, Judah, and Levi. But today we're going to catch up on some of the others. And I think tomorrow we finish up in First Chronicles with the genealogies, and then we go into the New Testament. So 7:1 is the genealogy of the tribe of Issachar. 1 through 5 talk about how they were mighty men of valor. And we've seen a couple of the tribes of Israel who describe their people as mighty men of valor. And we see it again as we get into verses 6 through 12 when we're talking about the tribe and the descendants of Benjamin. And Benjamin, like I said, their tribes also described their men were mighty men of valor. And after you see this a couple times, you think, well, of course, all of them are going to describe themselves as the mighty men of valor. But they don't. So let's take it at its word that Issachar and Benjamin were mighty men of valor. And Benjamin, for a fact, we know because there were a lot of stories about the Benjamites, the things that they did. They had a checkered past, and they were almost completely wiped out by the rest of Israel when they raped and killed a traveler's wife. He cut her up and sent her to all the parts of Israel. Everybody got real offended that Benjamin would do that, so they came in and they were going to destroy the tribe of Benjamin. And then they had to wind up giving Benjamin daughters from other tribes. Big story about Benjamites. We also know that Saul came from the tribe of Benjamin. So Benjamin is very prominent when it comes to Old Testament stories. Then we get into the very next verse, verse 13. It's titled "The Sons of Naphtali," and it's like a couple of sentences describes these are the tribes of Naphtali, and then that's it. There's not a whole lot there, and it's kind of curious as to why they're giving. When we see these chapters, and we're reading chapter after chapter after chapter, and then we get into a one-verse description of the descendants of one of the tribes of Israel, it makes you wonder. Verse 14, the sons of Manasseh are described. Then we get into Ephraim in 20, descendants of Asher in 30. They're also numbered as men of valor. And then we get into chapter 8. Chapter 8, verse 1, and what we talked about earlier in chapter 7, verses 6 through 12, the Benjamites. It goes back in and it tells about these descendants and a little bit more about them. Again, they were very controversial, very interesting tribe, and they've got a lot of history because not just King Saul, but the apostle Paul, who wrote the most books, I guess we could say, in the New Testament. Not that he wrote most of the New Testament, because I think in actual volume of writings, John wrote actually more than Paul, but Paul wrote the most books that we find in the New Testament, and he was from the tribe of Benjamin. So, man, they've got a lot of very rich history to it. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to finish out the Old Testament tomorrow. First Chronicles chapter 8, verse 28, where we left off today. We're going to read through chapter 9, verse 44, and we'll be done with the Old Testament. So read ahead, come back here tomorrow. In the meantime, you guys be safe.